Hey, everybody, welcome back to another wonderful episode of MRO Essentials with Tim and Justin. Justin, we really want to delve a little bit deeper into the demand signal because it's such an important piece of establishing stocking strategies, setting up your supply chain for success to meet the business needs. And it
That's
doesn't
it. Yeah.
matter if it's good, bad, or ugly, understanding that demand signal, and that's what we're talking about today, helps establish that MRO supply chain. So Justin's gonna, if you don't mind, Justin, to kick us
Yeah.
off with like a risk matrix. I think you were showing me. I'll let you take it from here to start explaining what that's like.
Yeah. You bet, Tim. I was talking to a really good client of ours this week, and we're starting to hit that maturity stage where we're trying to understand why we're holding things in inventory, right? I
Yep.
mean, that's pretty common.
Yep.
I went, you know me from a long time ago. We've been through this a few times with a few guys, but and I asked the question, do you understand your priority? Like, do you
Yeah.
understand work priority where you guys are at? And he just kind of laughed at me and said, I think there's something out there. And I said, well, let me pull up and explain to you, and this is what I'm sharing with you guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
what I'm really used to, right? So when a technician goes out and finds something that needs to be repaired, we call that corrective maintenance. Now, corrective maintenance can fall into the planned segment of our business, right? I
Well,
mean,
give
it's
us an example of that. What would be a corrective but planned?
absolutely. So, and I'll explain that as we go through these priorities here. So,
Oh,
if I
okay.
have a 0 or a 1, if you look here in that fourth column, it says the end work date that I have to have this work completed, right? So if it's
Oh,
an
okay. Yep.
emergency, I need to get that work done immediately. So that is going to break my schedule, right?
Yep.
I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to not do preventive maintenance work. I'm not going to do lower priority corrective maintenance work. All hands on deck. An example of that, we might have an electrical storm come in and kill all the power and a tank starts overflowing and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
headed for a waterway. We
Yep.
cannot let something oil in this example flow to a stream that goes into a river. We're going to protect our environment at all costs, right? We're going to stop what
Yep.
we're doing,
Gotcha.
take care of it. So when we think about those really high priority emergencies, those zeros and ones, we're really worried about our people first, and then our environment, and then our production, right? So an example of a high, I have in the oil and gas business, I have a pump go down and it's tied to more than 46 barrels a day. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, right? Within
Yep.
3 days, I need to have that fixed because the ROI of going out and bringing in contract labor, maybe even expediting some parts, it pays for itself, especially, 70, $80 barrels a day, $80
Yeah. Yeah.
per barrel a day.
Okay. So we need to explain. I think what we're showing this because we're trying to explain how this relates back to the supply chain. And so
That's
this is
exactly right. Yeah.
straight away from a supply chain hat. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes complete sense. That's
Yep.
logical. I love it. How do I
Yeah.
know what is a zero emergency versus what's a six? So explain that one. How do you do that in the work order? How do you tell?
That's right. So think about it this way. If I'm trying to support these guys, they tell me, so remember, my job in supply chain is never to assess priority. That's operations job. That's the maintenance
Yep.
guy. That's, right? My job is to get the parts where they belong. Right parts, right place, right time, lowest total cost.
Yep.
So I react to the day they ask me to get those parts. Does that make sense? Now, if I've got if we've got equipment that we know is going to fall in that 0, 1 and 0 and 1 category,
Yep.
I'm probably going to stock that stuff,
Yep.
right? Because or I'm going to make sure I have a vendor that's down the road that can get me one of those in 30 minutes or less. These are the
Yep.
non-negotiable make or break. I got to have it and I'm going to count it and I'm going to take care of it. Now, where it starts getting a little bit gray is in that
Yep.
level 2 area, that medium area,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So I might have a guy go out and look at a pump and it's leaking from the packing and it's a small drip, it's in secondary containment. And if it failed, it'd be 3 barrels a day or 5 barrels a day or whatever. Maybe in this example, the medium, 17 barrels a day. Well, because the machine isn't down and it's contained and it's such a small issue, I'm going to put a medium priority on that. And
Hmm.
if that part can be procured within 14 days, then I don't need to stock that in the warehouse, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
I know that's something I can get my hands on. Now, if it's something that's got a 30 to 40-day lead time, we're probably going to make some decisions to stock that depending on how frequent that is. So hopefully that helps you guys from an inventory standpoint. If if your guys on the maintenance side, you guys on the maintenance world, if you guys will start following a priority matrix and live and breathe by this, we can start being more mature on the supply chain side and the inventory side to really support you guys and not hold everything. Because guess what? If
Yeah.
everything's an emergency and you tell us everything's an emergency, what are we going to do, Tim?
Stock everything, which, well, and that's an interesting conversation because most companies aren't at this level of saying, hey, I'm only going to stock for a zero, one, and let's say even a two.
Right.
Zero, one, twos, all that demand will be stocked because it's potential. You need it at arm's length versus 3 to 6, you buy in demand.
That's exactly
So,
right.
and the other interesting twist in there is it may be a low value part. So you calculate, say, just stock it. It's not worth buying it to order because it could be a $50 part and your PO costs you $100. So just stock a few.
That's right.
But you don't want to stock for total demand. You want to stock for the unplanned portion of the demand. And this is
That's
where
right.
this company that you're talking about has gotten very good of saying, hey, I use 10 a month, but 7 of those are planned. I know when I'm going to do that. So I really only need to stock 3. And that's been a fundamental game changer with them because I think we've calculated and saved them over $7 million in the last year,
Yeah,
about last
about
year. And
13
so
months. That's
that's
exactly right. That's exactly right.
significant. And they're running better. The warehouses are shrinking, so they're more effective. They're counting, which leads back to two things. So these are the other 2 points we wanted to talk about. So this prioritizing work has a big impact on the supply chain in two areas. One is your data or
Absolutely.
data. So the data that maintenance are relying on is going to be very important. So let's say they've got this priority one work order, and they're going to need this packing. Let's say they put the material in, they're going to do an availability check, and it needs to be accurate. It needs to, one, tell them, do I have it in stock or not? And two, how long does it take me to procure it? They've got to rely on that data because if they don't, they're going to buy more than they need and they're going to
That's
hide it
right.
under their desk or in a container or something. And that's where we
You
don't
know,
want them to go.
and I got to tell this story, Tim.
Yeah.
So, I we started this process, and within 6 months of us having like legitimately showing up, having what we need when we need it, and they knew that we were going to count it, we were going to take care of it, we were going to properly store it, we were going to preserve it, whatever we needed to do, right, to take
Yep.
care of those materials. It was it was so interesting because now all these squirrel stores, all these little satellite locations, these guys had little, they went to their toolbox and their on their trucks
Yep.
every day, shipments of, hey, will you put this in your inventory and take care of it and hold it for us because we know you
Yeah.
guys are going to do what you say you're going to do.
Yep. They trust you.
It was crazy, and we had to turn them away and say, guys, I can't put 48 needle valves in the warehouse. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just too.
Because you use two a
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Like, sorry, guys, and sorry that we put you in that situation. Like, we own part of that. My bad. I promise you, we're not going to do it again, right? And so you just consume that surplus over the next 15, 16 months and stop the madness, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's a really good point. But
That
back
well,
to
that brought up
this.
a couple
Yeah,
issues because not
yeah,
seeing that consumption is important, but that's a separate issue. Because if they're
yeah,
consuming surplus, we don't see the consumption, so we don't understand the frequency of the demand. But that's okay. Once you get that out, that'll flow back
yeah.
through. The third
Absolutely,
piece that you brought up is really good is stock accuracy, which
absolutely.
is if you're listening to this, I can't explain enough how important stock accuracy is. Counting inventory. Everybody hates to do it. It's no fun. You'd rather receipts and issue in a warehouse. The stock counting is terrible, but it is foundational. Again, because if they're going to run an availability check in their work order to say, hey, do I have this? The first thing it does is going to check stock. If they don't trust that, they're gonna bypass it, probably free text some, and just bring it in.
That's
if you
exactly what
have it
they
or
do.
not, there's
Yeah.
I can't be bothered. I'm not going to call the warehouse because they don't have time. I can't get a hold of them, whatever. And then you've got this. Now their time to create the work order just went up. Their cost went up.
Yep.
It's amazing. So prioritizing the work from maintenance, number one. Two, trust the data. Three, stock accuracy, stock accuracy, stock accuracy.
That's it. And I'm telling y'all, like, teamwork makes the dream work. So, you know, it's time in your organization, if you're struggling with this, if you're on the maintenance side, somebody needs to step up and be a hero and stop throwing rocks at the supply chain guys. And if you're on the supply chain, somebody needs to be a hero and stop throwing rocks at the maintenance guys. Like, it's
Spot
time.
on.
It's time to be a team together and work through this. So if you do not have a priority matrix, you're welcome to steal this one. Give us a shout. We can walk you through setting one up. This is for
Yeah.
an oil and gas customer we have. But this is any asset intensive. I mean, just replace barrels with units or
Yeah.
widgets or whatever. So,
I'd be
um,
shocked if your company doesn't have, you may not see it, but it'll have
yeah,
a
they have it.
risk matrix or priority matrix. Yep.
So ask your leaders, figure it out, get together. Let's get a powwow going, and let's get you guys prioritizing your work because it
Not a
is
powwow, a powwop.
powwow, powwop, powwop. plan
Plan
work,
our
plan
work,
our
work
work,
our plan.
work our plan, baby. All right, guys. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, was helpful. I know it changed my world. I've seen it.
Oh.
Many organizations really benefit from this, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.